Hey everyone, hey Wellness Crew, and welcome to today's reading of Fragments of Light, Insights, Breakthroughs, and Epiphanies by Richard Rudd, who is the author of The Gene Keys. Poetic Pauses, Pausing for Beauty. The Art of Contemplation, Part 2. The art of contemplation begins with pausing, and it is up to us to find these moments where we can take a pause. There are many different ways we can do this, and we may have to be quite creative to carve out these moments in our day. It can sometimes be a bit of a dance. Here's some more insight from the art of contemplation. Creating pauses. A major part of the art of contemplation is to engage your own spirit of creativity. It's up to you how you create more pauses in your day. Pausing is a form of self-discipline and take some time to re-imprint the habit in your life. However, once we have begun the process, it can be both fun and very revealing. There are many types of pauses. Pausing doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stop moving and remain still. This is only one aspect of pausing. Another type of pause is the transitionary pause between one event in our life and the next. For example, walking to work can be a pause. It all depends on how you walk. If you rush headlong down the street while at the same time as gazing at your phone, this is not creating a pause. If, however, you saunter along the road at a leisurely pace, enjoying the fact that you are truly savoring this moment, then perhaps your lips will curl into a smile, and for a few moments you will feel truly free and relaxed. Taking a pause during a busy day does not mean that you have to stop your outer activity, but there is a gap in your inner activity. You can carry on doing what you are doing, but suddenly you do it with awareness and mindfulness, and the activity changes subtly. A pause can also be a break, simply a moment to close your eyes, take a breath, and physically stop. To make the opportunities for more pauses, you may have to get quite creative and rethink your day somewhat. If you are heading out somewhere, you could give yourself a bit more time, just so you give yourself the luxury to meander a little. In our modern world, it can feel a bit naughty in a way to organize your life so that you can drift a bit. Yet it is okay to give yourself an extra 5 minutes to meander, saunter, or linger, all lovely English words that invoke the idea of pausing in movement. It is also really important to pause between switching activities. All too often we rush headlong from one activity to another. See if you can instead use the natural break to create a pause between one activity and the next. The more we find these breaks in the natural patterns of flow in our lives, the more poetic, more leisurely, more romantic, and more relaxed our life becomes. And because we notice more around us, we start to fully appreciate the aesthetics, the beauty, and the play of light. Even on a gray day, you can find exquisiteness in the tonality of the light as it falls on a branch or on someone's face or on the dishcloth. You are seeing the sacred in the everyday. If you have ever worked with plant medicines, you may remember moments where you see absolute beauty in the most mundane things, simply because you are more dialed in. But this is not something that requires any chemical change. It actually can be baked into your life simply through learning the art of contemplation. Poetic pauses, where we pause in order to imbibe beauty, are something that we can develop inside us. They are an aspect of our perception that we can enhance through the self-discipline that comes from the art of contemplation, which is an art, not a science. It is an amazing process that we have to go back to anew each day. In contemplation, we have to sculpt our day, our life, according to the poetic laws that we find and see operating around us. Even in the hubbub and the craziness of the city, there is great beauty to be found in the dreariest office, or in the exhausted faces on the train going home. We can always see it if we look deeply enough. We just have to pay attention and maybe come off our screens for a moment. When we have seen it, we might feel a little bit of awe and perhaps a little revelation that this is what life is actually for. The first of all the gene keys is beauty, and that is why, first and foremost, we are here to love beauty, not in the sense of wanting to look beautiful, but to see and perceive beauty everywhere, within everything. Even in ugliness or in pain, there are fragments, little moments of beauty. Thank you so much for the like. And the art of contemplation teaches us how to see them. That is what makes it one of the most treasured and overlooked of all the arts. So go out there, sculpt a poetic life using the art of contemplation, and you will see that you are spreading light wherever you go. Pivoting, the art of contemplation, part 3. The 3 stages in the art of contemplation, pausing, pivoting, and merging, are really one technique because they are contained in and emerge from each other. Pivoting, the second layer in the art of contemplation, comes from pausing. Pivots occur within pauses, and so as you create more inner space within yourself and in your life, you increase the possibility of pivotal moments. These are moments of breakthrough when you see that a pattern which has been running inside you, perhaps for years or even your whole life, has unconsciously been undermining you in some way, or creating stress or friction inside your body, and perhaps even in other people's lives. During a breakthrough, you can suddenly see that pattern in a different light, and you see it fully for the first time. This creates the potential for a pivotal experience. That change in view, that paradigm shift, leaves you feeling different, and having reached that awareness, it is hard for you to return to that same old pattern. We carry patterns like these from childhood, and unless we are really deep suckers or contemplators, they can keep on running, and they ruin our lives. They steal our energy like vampires that cling to us, robbing us of our joy and our vitality. I did not know construction was going to be taking place today. So if my microphone is picking up any construction sounds, I completely apologize because I was not aware that construction was going to be taking place. So I'm sorry if the mic is picking any of that up. Sometimes it can also be that we wake up in the morning and just feel down for no obvious reason. Here is an example taken from the art of contemplation. Pivoting. You are feeling emotionally low. You have lost touch with any sense of joy or deeper purpose in life. You feel disconnected from others and you don't know how to get back to a brighter place. Instead of trying to distract yourself from the discomfort, you create a pause, a space inside yourself, so that you can look at your inner state with honesty. On deeper self-reflection, you realize that the state you are in is a deep numbness. Thank you so much for the like. You remember that this is not unique to you, but universal to all human beings. From this place of self-compassion, you go further into yourself, into your heart, until you find the tiniest flame. There is always a small flame in the midst of the numbness. You cradle this precious flame, like a tiny spark on a cold winter's night. You gently fan the flame with patience until it grows inside you. This may take time, even several days, but over time, your awareness and courage help to bring this flame back to life. You begin to feel human again. You feel warmth and hope dawn inside you. You have made self-compassion and love the pivot for a total change in awareness. And having done it once, you draw strength from knowing you can do it again whenever you need. You have learned to bring your heart back to life. Pivoting is particular to the heart and tends to be an emotional experience. So while an insight is a mental breakthrough, pivoting is an emotional breakthrough where the heart opens and we soften, remembering more of ourselves and unlocking more vitality. Thank you so much for the like. Pivoting is a technique that mostly happens on its own, and although it starts with an act of will, as in the above example, you will still have to make the decision to stop and inquire deeper. You still need to have the courage to look at the discomfort. So you close your eyes, you go within, and you feel it. Whatever it is, you feel it. It could be numbness, but it might also be anger or fear. You just surround it with the pause, the quiet, curious space that allows it to breathe a little inside you. This creates the uplift and the transformation. It really is simple, but it does take an act of will, a small act of will. Although at times it may feel like a big one. As you journey deeper into the art of contemplation, I encourage you to be brave and look inside at your uncomfortable areas. Give yourself the space, time, and commitment to explore them. That is when you will realize that inside those shadows lie the gifts, the treasures. But few humans know to look for them there because we have a tendency to distract ourselves away from pain. Pivoting is a very powerful experience at the very heart of the art of contemplation. And as you move further into the practice, it will spread throughout your life. Here is another excerpt from the art of contemplation, the reward of pivoting, the heart of peace. Although it may seem to many like a romantic dream, pure love is the only lasting legacy we humans have. There is nothing comparable to it in all of creation. All of our knowledge and science and self-importance falls away in the presence of such love. It is this love that we come from, and this love that we will return to. It is the fathomless mystery of the human heart. This pure love, though hard-earned and seldom witnessed on our earth, is the ultimate reward of the deeper reaches of contemplation. Those few who have embodied this love throughout history have found fewer words to describe it. They speak of it as an indescribable peace that resides in the human heart. It is this heart of peace that lies buried like a glittering gem inside each of us. It awaits the day when we will gather the courage to pierce our fear and softly allow the petals of our hearts to once again open fully. It is not just a dream, it is the only truth there is. Pivotal Breakthroughs, The Art of Contemplation, Part 4. Pivoting is the turning point of our inner journey when we get to transform some deep, unseen shadow some wounded part of ourself. We transmute and change it into something higher, something positive, something creative and beautiful. By creating more pauses in our life, and therefore more inner space, we are making room in our life for pivotal moments, for this mysterious process of inner turning, where we pivot around a wound or a discomfort. The pearl in the oyster is created by a pivot around the ache, the problem, the grain of sand that the oyster cannot get rid of, so it builds a thing of beauty around it. It pivots around it, which is what we are also doing through the art of contemplation. If you are already using the gene keys, then you will have a good understanding of the language of the spectrum of consciousness and the shadows, the gifts, and the siddhis, which are the foundation of the gene keys. The experience of pivoting is the very knife edge of the shadow transmuting into the gift and releasing the aroma of the essence of the siddhi. For example, the shadow of the 15th gene key is dullness, the gift is magnetism, and the siddhi is fluorescence. For someone who is experiencing that dullness, not necessarily the dullness of a day, but more like the inner being feeling dull, lackluster, uninspired, unmotivated, and adrift. Rather than distracting yourself away from those feelings, you create space around them, and this can create the pivot. You see that something in there, in the feeling, the discomfort, and the ache, begins to reveal itself, and an energy shift takes place. It is something that takes place inside the body, in an embodied process. The energy shift releases the kinetic energy from the potential, and the potential energy becomes kinetic. In other words, it releases life force and vitality, which is why in this case it becomes magnetism. Then the mood shifts, the inner world shifts, and the whole way which you look at life, at yourself and the world begins to shift. And you feel more positive, happier, and lighter. That is how pivoting works. Then the fluorescence means that the shift lives on in the world, because pivoting is a continuing experience. It is not just a moment, but a permanent cellular shift, and it goes on happening. Having done it once, it can easily happen again. And it gives you faith to keep on creating more space, more pauses, because the breakthroughs are so amazing. I have had many pivotal experiences during my life. Many of them have taken place in my relationships with my children, my wife, and my father. There is a particular one with my father that I remember, a sweet experience when I was younger. I had a real difficulty in my early 20s with my father because I couldn't get him to listen to me. I was having all these experiences of openings and expansions, and I was full of my spiritual journey. And I wanted him to know and understand it, but he wasn't very interested. He didn't speak the language and he couldn't relate to it. He was a gardener, and one of those gardeners who knew the Latin names of every plant. I remember walking around the garden with him, telling me the names of everything, and speaking Latin to me, and all of a sudden I just started to deeply relax and just enjoy his presence and his joy. And then I had a pivot, a complete emotional breakthrough. My heart opened and I let go of wanting him to understand me in that way, and I just took him for what he was. I realized then that was him understanding me. I allowed him into my heart, and I allowed the Latin in as well. It is just a language, but underneath the language was joy, connection, intimacy. I felt that flow, and he felt it too. We connected. After that afternoon, my relationship with my father was so much easier because I took all the pressure off him to be a certain way. I just let him be the way he wanted to be, and through that came our connection. Often we put pressure on people to listen in a certain way and to speak our language when they don't want to, or they are not ready to. So we need to just let them speak their language because we will realize that underneath, the true language is of the heart. I hope you can take this teaching and through creating pauses, you can begin to watch the magic of the pivots. The pivots happen just occasionally, so you really remember them and they can make wonderful stories, like the one with my father. I really recommend that when you have a pivotal breakthrough, you share it. Share it with your friends, and then you could also share it in the Gene Keys community. Share it because these moments are precious and they can give others breakthroughs. One person's pivot can become many people's. And although we can't consciously create a pivot because it is out of our control, we can create a pause. And then something transformational occurs in us through those pauses. It is very simple and magical. May you experience many, many pivotal moments. Merging. The Art of Contemplation, Part 5. Pausing, pivoting, and merging are the three techniques that make up the art of contemplation. Merging grows out of pivoting, and pivoting grows out of pausing, which is the key to the art of contemplation, and anyone can easily learn how to do it. If you are fortunate, a pivot will flow from the pause, and then merging flows from the pivots. Merging is different from the other two because it is more like the backdrop and the deep underlying reward and purpose of the art of contemplation. It could be said that pausing is the seed, pivoting is the flower, and merging is the fruit. The fruit can't be rushed. It drops from the branch when it is ready. In the same way, merging happens in the background, although sometimes it can take years. The art of contemplation ultimately opens us up to life in a much more profound way, which is why the third aspect is called merging, because we begin to merge with all that is. We experience a healthy sense of, this is me, but also, I flow into all things, I trust all things, I am part of all things, I am part of the whole. Here is an excerpt from the art of contemplation. Merging. Merging involves moving deeper than ever into life, into the world, towards others. It is a state of flowering and an embracing of all facets of life. It is the threshold of our mastery. Merging is the heart of contemplation. Merging is an unflinching attitude we develop towards everything and everyone around us. No matter what happens, no matter what destiny brings us, we consciously move towards it in the spirit of trust. We move to merge with it. You cannot merge with something or someone unless you have already developed a vast open space within you. If you try and merge with a person without this inner space, you will become entangled with them. This is a common story in human relationships. We become confused with the stories of others, and they become confused with ours. It is really important to understand, especially in relationships, that when your story gets tangled up in someone else's story, and there are not enough pauses or space to disentangle all those dramas, we become trapped in the shadow patterns and the storylines. and we become entwined in a kind of tapestry. This kind of merging is called codependent merging, and it is unhealthy. It is healthy to the degree that it teaches us, but it is unhealthy because it constricts our love and our natural sense of being. True merging happens as a conscious act of love and is the result of many pauses and many pivots. It is a maturing of our soul. It is a worldview that grows in us. Again, from the art of contemplation. It is as though we have allowed our roots to spread into all the crevices of the world. There is nothing we try to escape from, and no one whom we resent, envy, or avoid. This may look as if we are losing our boundaries, but it is actually the opposite. It is a paradox. We merge because we have become so centered and have such a polished sense of being that it is safe for us to do so. The diamond of the self is opened on all sides, so it can merge without losing its pure self. And the paradox is that the more it merges, the more beautiful and glittering the diamond becomes. Many people fear that if they were to merge with the whole, they would lose themselves. But that is needless, because when you have that polished gem of the self, the true self, it becomes more resplendent the more it opens. It is infinite, and we are infinite beings in our capacity to merge with things, with life, and with events. There are three qualities: generosity, friendship, and gentleness that create the environment for merging, and they are intimately linked. Generosity is about softening, opening, and embracing things in a generous spirit. Sometimes it is unseen, so it can be very subtle. For example, someone wrongs you with an injustice, but instead of rushing to defend your honor, you soften, you open, and you understand. Well, this has happened because there is something here for me that I can learn from. For the other person, you can treat them with respect and diplomacy in whatever way you need to. Whether you withdraw or whether you let them know that it wasn't okay with you, you do it in a respectful way. The important thing is that you decide to learn from it. You are respectfully acknowledging what has come to you, looking for the learning in it, and contemplating its deeper lesson. Perhaps it is inviting you to let go of something subtle. People usually expect a defense when they have launched an attack, but sometimes you can turn these situations around inside yourself, and your response can be courteous rather than reactive, and that is generosity. The second quality of friendship is very profound. For the Sufis, friendship is a way of life. They look at everything as their friend. Every act, situation, object, or person is embraced as an opportunity to experience the inherent unity of all beings. Seeing everything as your friend has the effect of bringing the world closer to you. You enter into an intimacy with life and other people. If you offer friendship, it is unconditional. Even if they don't return your offer of friendship, it doesn't matter. If they don't reciprocate or if they are not ready, that is part of your spaciousness. You just carry on with life, and you will be there waiting for when they do feel ready, even if they are never ready. Nonetheless, you extend that friendship in the spirit of generosity. Gentleness, the third quality, is rooted in a Sanskrit term, ahimsa, which is a lovely word meaning harmlessness. This might come across as a bit weak, but actually it is a powerful discipline in nonviolence. To be disciplined in ahimsa means that no thoughts, words, or tones escape your aura with any edge to them, but if they happen to, you can immediately take them back. Learn from it and then forgive yourself. You are constantly refining the energy of gentleness as you are putting out the energy. And that is what creates the merging. It does not mean that you can't really be clear and one-pointed, but it means that even your one-pointedness has polish. Even the edge has a kind of respect to it. Gentleness is rooted in dignity, in self-respect, and you offer it to others, and at the same time, you offer it to yourself. One of the hardest tasks in the art of contemplation is to be gentle with oneself. But it is the most important thing to remember. Make sure that you practice gentleness. Be easy on yourself and let yourself off the hook. Just like parenting a child, sometimes we have to parent ourselves in the same gentle way. And sometimes when we are faced with violence, hatred, or injustice, or someone behaving badly in some way, we have to remember that there is a wounded child in there. And how do you behave towards a wounded child? Yes, you have boundaries, but also you approach them in the spirit of gentleness because you know that is what a child needs. They have probably never really been loved, or they have forgotten what it is like to be loved. So along with boundaries and a sense of dignity, we treat all things with compassion, and that is the power of merging and the fruit of our contemplative practice. This brings us back to pausing. We must learn and remember how to pause. Increase pauses inwardly and outwardly in your life. And just allow the spaciousness of pausing to be fueled by generosity of spirit, friendship, and gentleness. The world will consistently supply us with the means to polish our art of contemplation. It is doing so now and will continue to do so. One of the great gifts of being alive and in the body is that we get to move towards this mastery, which is the purpose of the art of contemplation. Thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream reading of Fragments of Light, Insights, Breakthroughs, and Epiphanies by Richard Red. And I will see you on the next live stream or video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join one of the membership tiers as it is popping off. And I'll see y'all next time. Be well, stay wild as well.